It's Mike with Iceberg Gaming here with another Project Zomboid guide for today. Today I am giving you the ultimate tier ranking for melee weapons in Project Zomboid. This is going to be the best melee weapons ranked. Anything not included on this list, such as leaf breaks, etc., is something that I don't consider worth using. Let's get into the list right away. For our S tier weapons, I have the katana, the pitchfork, and the shovel. These are, in my opinion, the three best weapons in the game. The katana has the best damage in the game, as well as excellent range and decent durability. You can't beat it for pure raw damage. You're basically going to be one-hit killing any zombie you hit with it. The pitchfork is basically an upgraded spear. It has the same damage and the one-hit capability of the spear, but it has more than double the durability. And it is also easier to not get animation locked with the one-hit kill animation with the spear. It swipes much easier than these actual spears do. And our final S-tier weapon is the shovel. Yes, the shovel. The most underrated weapon in the game. It has massive range, excellent damage, and very good durability. It's basically a crowbar on steroids, in my opinion. Next up, for the A tier, I'm putting the machete, the crowbar, the pickaxe, and the spiked baseball bat. These are all excellent weapons. You cannot go wrong with any of them. In most cases, they're just below the S tier. They are all very good. The machete is very similar to the katana. It's got similar damage. The only downside is it is a shorter range weapon. It still counts as a long blade, but it has much less range than the katana. The katana has much better range. And of course, we all know the praises of the crowbar. It is all around a fantastic weapon. It's got probably the best durability in the game, as well as very good damage, and it's just an excellent weapon. If you have to pick one weapon, you can't go wrong with the crowbar. Our next A-tier weapon is the pickaxe. It has excellent damage and excellent range. The durability is a little bit on the low side compared to some of our other above-average weapons, but you can also use this weapon in a pinch to knock down barricades if you need to get into a garage door, a locker door, etc. This weapon is fantastic for that, as well as breaking zombie faces. And our final A-tier weapon, as well as also our first B-tier weapon, is the baseball bat. I'm putting the spiked version in the A tier and the unspiked version in the B tier. The spiked version does more damage, but the unspiked version lasts longer, has better durability. So take that as you will. They're kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, whichever you are more interested in, more damage or more durability. Moving right along to the B tier, these are the above average weapons that you could definitely use to kill many zombies. As I mentioned earlier, first up we've got the baseball bat. You can kind of interchange this with the spiked version. Whichever suits your playstyle better, both will work. And next up we have the snow shovel. It is very similar to the regular shovel, but in my opinion it seems to break easier than the regular shovel. They do, according to the stats, they do about the same damage and have the same range, but in my opinion the shovel itself seems to perform better. Could just be anecdotal. And last up in our B tier, we have a spear that has been augmented with a knife. You can use any type of knife for this, including scissors. The best is the hunting knife, but any will do. Now I'm putting the spear augmented in the B tier and the regular spear in the C tier. The augmented version has better range and also has better durability because you have to use up the durability of the augmented thing first. And this brings us to the C tier. In the C tier, I've got the nightstick, any type of axe. We've got the unaugmented spear, a garden hoe, and the rake. The nightstick is, in my opinion, a great emergency weapon. I always have one in my belt, but it's not going to be a primary weapon, in my opinion. Just anything short is just not going to be worth it, in my opinion. And the nightstick is a short, blunt weapon. I always tend to go for the long, blunt weapons. They have much better range. It's much easier to not get bitten when you're using a longer weapon. You want to stay out of range of the bites for sure. But it's definitely a great emergency weapon to have in your belt. Next up, any type of axe. They're just too slow, in my opinion. The damage is great, but the swing speed is just too slow to make use of them as far as two-handed axes go. And then if you're using a one-handed axe, you're going to run into the same problem as the nightstick with the range. And then finally, up next in the C tier, we also have the spear. I talked about the spears earlier. They are fantastic, but they have very low durability, and they tend to break when you don't need them to break the most. And finally, to wrap up the C tier, I've got rakes and garden hose. These are fantastic for leveling your long blunt skill, in my opinion, but they're not something you want to use long term. They don't do good damage, and they break easily, but they do have fantastic range, and they can hit multiple zombies at a time if you have multi-hit on, which makes them great for leveling your long blunt. And last but definitely least, we have the D tier. In the D tier, I have all knives, all short blunt weapons, and I am using the frying pan as an example, but basically any kitchen utensil you can use as a weapon is going to belong in the D tier. You can use frying pans, rolling pins, etc. Short blade skills, weapons like knives just do terrible damage, and they require you to be way too close to the zombies, so I don't use them hardly ever unless it's an emergency. The one shot when the zombie is on the ground is pretty cool, but other than that, you're going to be better off skipping any short blade weapon. If you do decide to torture yourself by using a short blade, make sure it is a hunting knife. The hunting knife has by far the most damage of any short blade in the game. Potentially, the butcher's knife could be also good, but stick with the hunting knife, in my opinion. And finally, in an emergency or at the start of the game, you can use a rolling pin or frying pan in a pinch as a weapon. They do bad damage and they break very easily, but you can do it to get yourself out of a jam or at the start of the game. And that is going to wrap up the list of my definitive ranking list for melee weapons in Project Zomboid. Let me know in the comments section if you agree with my list or if I missed your favorite weapon and what you're using to kill zombies in Project Zomboid. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next video.